There is a building in China where 30,000 people wake up, eat, work, shop, swim, get haircuts, and see a doctor, all without stepping outside. One address, one roof, a population bigger than most towns. Rent starts at $220 a month in a city where average apartments cost three times that. It went viral for looking dystopian. It has a wait list because people actually want to live there. This is Regent International in Hangzhou. And the real story is nothing like what the internet told you, but here's what the viral videos never showed you. And once you see the full picture, the word dystopian starts to feel a lot more complicated than you'd expect. The internet called it dystopian almost immediately, and looking at it from the outside, that reaction makes sense. The building is enormous, repetitive, geometric, and almost aggressively functional. No decorative flourishes, no charming architectural details, just floor after floor of windows stacked in repeating patterns that go on so long, your eye loses count. It looks like someone asked a computer to design maximum housing and then actually built it. From a distance, it is genuinely hard to process as a place where people live their daily lives. But here's what changes the picture completely. Nobody was forced into this building. The people living inside Regent International chose it. They found it online, applied, paid a deposit, and moved in. Many of them are young graduates who just arrived in one of China's most expensive and competitive cities. Many are freelancers, small business owners, and content creators. Some are social media influencers who built their entire audience documenting life inside the building. These are not people enduring the building. They are people who picked it. And the reason they picked it, the actual reason, tells you more about what cities are becoming than anything the building looks like from the outside. The building sits in Changjiang Century City, Hangzhou's central business district. Hangzhou's home to Alibaba's headquarters, ranks among the world's top 100 financial centers, and has a population of over 11 million people. Housing prices here are second only to Beijing, Shanghai, and Shenzhen, the three most expensive cities in all of China. A young person arriving here without connections or savings faces a very specific problem. The city has the jobs, the city has the opportunity, but the city also has rent prices that eat half a salary before the month is a week old. Regent International solves that problem in the bluntest way imaginable. A small apartment without windows rents for around $220 a month. A larger unit with a balcony goes for around $550. For Hangzhou, those numbers are not just affordable, they are almost unbelievable. You are paying less than most people spend on a gym membership in New York to live in the central business district of one of the most economically significant cities in Asia. That is the deal Regent International is offering, and tens of thousands of people have decided the deal is worth taking. Now, here's the part nobody expected, because this building was never supposed to be an apartment complex at all. What it was originally designed to be changes everything about how you see it. Regent International was designed in 2013 as a six-star luxury hotel, not a budget hotel, not a mid-range business property, a six-star hotel conceived for the kind of guests who expect marble lobbies and concierge services and rooms that cost more per night than most people earn in a week. The architect hired to design it was Alicia Liu, the same person who designed Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, one of the most iconic and photographed buildings in the world. This was a serious, prestigious commission with an enormous budget. Then, the economics changed. The hotel concept became unviable. The developers looked at Hangzhou's surging demand for housing, looked at the building they had designed, and made a decision. The hotel rooms became apartments. The concierge floors became residential floors. The six-star lobby stayed exactly as it was, which is why residents of what is essentially an affordable apartment block walk through an entrance that looks like it belongs in a five-star resort every single time they come home. That lobby is the clearest physical evidence that this building became something nobody originally planned. The S-shaped design you see in every viral photo wasn't chosen to look interesting. The reason behind it is more practical and more clever than most people realize. The building's distinctive S-shape was a deliberate engineering decision. A rectangular tower of this size would create enormous wind resistance, putting structural stress on the building and creating wind tunnel effects at ground level. The S-shape breaks up those forces, distributing wind load more efficiently across the structure. It also means more units face outward, more apartments get natural light, more residents get a window with a view rather than a window facing into an internal shaft. Every curve in that shape is solving a problem. The building ranges between 36 and 39 floors, depending on which side you are looking at. With a total internal area of 260,000 square meters, its different sections are connected by a network of skywalks, internal bridges, and corridors that allow residents to move from one end of the complex to the other without stepping outside. The circulation system was designed for thousands of people moving through simultaneously, wide enough, branching enough, and varied enough that the building does not feel like a single corridor. You are trapped inside. It feels, its residents say, more like a small city that happens to have a roof over it. And once you find out what's actually inside this building, the small city comparison stops feeling like an exaggeration and starts feeling like an understatement. Inside Regent International, there are gyms, swimming pools, supermarkets, restaurants, food courts, hair salons, nail salons, internet cafes, and according to multiple sources, schools and a clinic. Not near the building, not a 5-minute walk away. Inside the building, accessible from the same elevator bank you use to get to your apartment. A resident of Regent International can wake up, work out in the gym, have breakfast in the food court, buy groceries, get a haircut, see a doctor, and return to their apartment without ever touching a door that leads outside. If this kind of all-in-one living blows your mind, stick around. Hit subscribe so you don't miss more insane places like this. Drop a like if you'd actually live here. And tell me honestly, could you stay inside forever? That level of self-containment is not accidental. It was designed this way from the beginning because the building was originally a hotel, and hotels are built around the logic of keeping guests inside. Everything you need is here. There's no reason to leave. When that hotel logic got applied to a residential building at this scale, the result was a structure that functionally replaces not just an apartment block, but an entire neighborhood's worth of services, businesses, and daily infrastructure compressed into a single address and made available to everyone who lives there, regardless of which floor they are on. Now, here's the number that makes this all make sense. And once you understand the city this building was born into, the whole thing stops being surprising and starts being inevitable. In 1949, less than 10% of China's population lived in cities. Today, that number is over 65%. In less than 80 years, China moved hundreds of millions of people from rural areas into urban centers, a scale of urbanization that has no historical precedent anywhere in the world. Cities like Hangzhou didn't just grow during that period. They were rebuilt from scratch multiple times over, absorbing wave after wave of migrants, graduates, and workers arriving faster than conventional housing could be built to receive them. In the last 45 years alone, China built enough housing to accommodate the entire population of the European Union. That is not a figure that gets easier to process the more you think about it. 450 million people worth of housing built in under half a century in a country that simultaneously had to feed those people, employ them, educate their children, and build the roads, railways, and cities that connected them to each other. Regent International is not a strange outlier of that story. It is one of its most visible results. Hangzhou was facing a specific version of the pressure every major Chinese city was facing. It was attracting enormous economic investment, Alibaba's headquarters, major tech companies, finance industry employers, which meant it was also attracting enormous numbers of young people trying to build careers in those industries. Housing demand accelerated faster than supply. Prices rose faster than salaries. The city was becoming one of the most desirable places to work in China, while simultaneously becoming one of the hardest places to afford to live. Something had to absorb that pressure. Regent International absorbed it. The building's residents are mostly in their 20s and early 30s. Students finishing degrees at nearby universities. Fresh graduates taking their first job at a tech company. Freelancers and content creators who need to be in the city but cannot justify spending 2/3 of their income on a studio apartment in a conventional building. For all of these people, Regent International represents the same basic calculation. Pay less, get more access, stay in the center. The affordability is the point. Everything else is a bonus. But living inside a building with 20,000 to 30,000 other people is not without costs. And the dark side of Regent International is something the viral videos are very careful not to show you. The windowless apartments are the starting point of the conversation nobody wants to have. The cheapest units in the building, the ones priced at $220 a month that make it accessible to people who genuinely cannot afford more, have no natural light. You wake up in artificial light, move through corridors in artificial light, eat in a food court under artificial light, and go to sleep the same way. For a week, that might feel like a quirky urban adventure. For months, it starts to grind. For years, the psychological accumulation of never seeing daylight from your own living space is a documented mental health concern, not an aesthetic inconvenience. The social isolation problem is subtler, but arguably more significant. Regent International is so self-contained that its residents have almost no practical reason to engage with the wider city around it. Everything they need is inside. The restaurants they eat at, the gym they use, the grocery store they shop in, all internal, all convenient, all keeping them inside the building's ecosystem. Residents report knowing their immediate neighbors reasonably well. They report knowing almost nothing about the neighborhood outside the building. The city, beyond the exit doors, becomes increasingly abstract, a place you pass through on the way to work, not a community you are part of. And there is a question hanging over this building that nobody has publicly answered yet, one that gets more uncomfortable the more you think about it. Emergency evacuation. A building housing up to 30,000 people across 39 floors with interconnected towers, internal bridges, skywalks, and corridors designed for daily circulation. How does that structure evacuate in a fire or a serious earthquake? The same network of internal passages that makes daily life convenient becomes a potential liability when thousands of people need to move rapidly in the same direction simultaneously. The building's engineers designed it to withstand challenging environmental conditions and natural disasters. The evacuation logistics of a population this size, in a structure this interconnected, remain a question that has received significantly less public attention than the building's viral aesthetics. The socioeconomic stratification inside the building is another conversation that gets glossed over in most coverage. The higher your floor, the more you pay, the better your view, the more natural light your apartment receives, and the quieter your environment. The lower your floor, the cheaper your rent, the more foot traffic outside your door, and the less daylight reaches your windows. The inequality that exists in the city outside Regent International is not left at the door when you move in. It is replicated vertically, compressed into 39 floors, and made impossible to escape by simply moving to a different part of the city. You cannot relocate to a better neighborhood inside a single building. But here's where the story takes its most unexpected turn, because the same problems Regent International has are problems every major city on Earth is about to face. And this building might be the most honest answer anyone has built yet. New York's average monthly rent for a one-bedroom apartment crossed $4,000 in 2024. London, Sydney, Toronto, and Singapore are all in the middle of housing crises that their current planning systems cannot resolve. The instinctive answer those cities keep returning to: build more houses in suburban areas, zone for lower density, extend the commuter belt outward, consumes farmland, increases car dependency, extends commute times, and consistently fails to bring prices down because the supply never matches the scale of the demand. The math does not work, and it has not worked for 20 years. Regent International produces housing at $220 a month in the central business district of one of China's most expensive cities. That price point is not achievable through any conventional Western urban planning approach. It requires a density of scale, shared infrastructure, shared amenities, concentrated population that most Western cities are politically and culturally unwilling to permit, the neighborhoods that would need to be rezoned, the height limits that would need to be lifted, the community opposition that would need to be overruled. These are not engineering problems. They are political ones. And they are problems that Western cities consistently choose not to solve, then express confusion about why housing remains unaffordable. Urban planners across the world are studying this building not to copy it exactly, but because it is the most complete real-world answer that anyone has actually built to a question every city is asking right now. The environmental argument for buildings like this is one that gets almost no attention in the viral coverage. A building housing 30,000 people, running on shared heating systems, shared cooling infrastructure, shared water recycling, and solar panels across its roof. The energy consumption per person is significantly lower than the equivalent population spread across individual homes in a low-density suburb. Regent International has rainwater harvesting systems, grey water recycling, and advanced HVAC infrastructure that meets China's highest green building standards. A building this dense is not the environmental villain it looks like from the outside. Per person, it might be one of the most energy-efficient residential structures operating at scale anywhere in the world. The question the building ultimately raises is not really about China or about Hangzhou or even about this specific structure. It is about what a city is supposed to be and who it is supposed to serve. A city traditionally works by mixing people from different income levels, backgrounds, and professions in shared public space, streets, parks, markets, squares, where encounters happen by accident and community forms through friction and familiarity. Regent International replaces that model with a private managed vertical ecosystem where everything is convenient, everything is controlled, and the friction of the
Epic
city
orchestral
outside is
music
optional.
that slowly
That is
fades
either the
into
future of
silence.
urban living
So
or
epic
its most
orchestral
efficient dead
music
end.
that
And the
slowly
honest
fades
answer is
into
that nobody knows
silence.
yet which one it is. What we do know is that Regent International is already here, already full, and already being studied by architects and urban planners trying to figure out what to build next. The buildings that come after it will be bigger. The cities that adopt this model will be denser. And the question of whether vertical self-contained living makes human life better or smaller will be answered not in academic papers or planning documents, but by the people who move in, stay, and decide whether it feels like home. If this changed how you see modern living, subscribe for more, like the video and share it. Comment your thoughts. Would you actually live here or not?